The espresso machine hissed, like it was fed up with everyone in the lobby. Dahlia Quinn stood by the marble counter, idly pushing her mop bucket with one foot, humming an off-key rendition of Viva Las Vegas. Her pale blue uniform was crisply wrinkled in all the usual places, her name tag crooked just enough to suggest she didn't care, and her sunglasses, yes, indoors, reflected the lobby chandeliers like disco balls from a better era. Romy from HR appeared, clipboard in hand and patients already on life support. "Dahlia, this is Mr. Leon," Romy said with forced pep, gesturing to a frail-looking man in a charcoal suit that was one shoulder too big and a smile too humble for corporate. "New manager?" Dahlia asked, squinting behind her shades. "Temporary," Romy muttered. "We're between regional hires." Dahlia turned slowly, giving the man a look she usually reserved for broken vending machines and entitled influencers. Mr. Leon extended his hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Quinn. I've heard things." "Oh, all lies, especially the good ones," she said, shaking his hand lazily. "So, what's the plan? You gonna fire half the staff and host a TED Talk in the break room?" Leon chuckled. "Nothing so ambitious. I'm just here to learn the ropes, from the ground up." "Ground's already clean," she replied, mopping a tiny invisible spot at his feet with exaggerated grace. Romy gave Dahlia the warning look she reserved for when guests were nearby or lawsuits were plausible. But Leon didn't flinch. He smiled wider, like a man secretly enjoying a private joke. "I'll let you two connect," Romy said, retreating before Dahlia could weaponize a pun. As Mr. Leon adjusted his badge, which was upside down, Dahlia noted with a smirk. He said, "If there's anything I should know, I'm all ears." Dahlia leaned in conspiratorially. "Always flush twice in room 804, and if you see the chef crying near the dumpster on Wednesdays, that's normal." Leon laughed again, too naturally, too easily. And Dahlia, for the first time in a while, tilted her head. Something about this guy didn't match the tie. But she shrugged it off, spun her mop with a flourish, and wheeled her bucket down the polished hallway like it was a chariot. Just another suit passing through. Except he was. And tomorrow, he'd beat her at her own game. By 9 a.m. the next morning, Dahlia had already fixed a minibar scandal, solved a towel pyramid collapse on the 17th floor, and sweet-talked a screaming bride into not suing the pastry chef. Standard Tuesday. She was sipping her stolen macchiato in the staff hallway, where the walls were beige, the secrets darker, and the Wi-Fi weird, when she heard the buzz. "Manager fixed the overbooking in 1204, said James from concierge, eyes wide like he'd seen a unicorn fold laundry. "Got the couple a sweet upgrade and a spa voucher." Dahlia raised an eyebrow. He didn't cry or call Romy. "Nope," even smiled, said, "Just doing what Miss Quinn might have done." Dahlia nearly choked on her coffee. She brushed it off. Beginner's luck. That night, she decided to set a tiny trap. Nothing harmful, just a room service mix-up in room 1009, where a picky billionaire guest expected his usual avocado toast, no toast. Normally, that'd take 3 calls, a bribe, and a threat. But by the time Dahlia popped her head in, the guest was already licking avocado off a gold spoon, singing ABBA, and praising the gentleman manager with the soft voice and firm grip on logic. Dahlia narrowed her eyes. The next day, she casually spilled to a housekeeping crew that the laundry elevator had been acting up, tends to jam at floor 12. Classic Dahlia test. No one ever fixed it. She just wanted to see how the new guy handled being stuck with 40 pounds of damp towels and a claustrophobic intern. It was working. She waited by the monitor. Except he wasn't stuck. In fact, Leon was shown on the hallway camera helping the intern fold towels right there. Humming something, was that Johnny Cash. The building's pulse was changing. People were laughing more. Dahlia's name was still gold, but now whispered alongside his. Even Romy noticed. "You okay?" she asked Dahlia one afternoon in the break room. "You're blinking a lot." "I'm trying to calculate how someone can be both oblivious and 5 steps ahead," Dahlia muttered, watching Leon on the security feed helping fix a jammed vending machine with a plastic spoon. Romy snorted, "Maybe he's just good." Dahlia squinted. "Or a shapeshifter, or CIA, or worse, human resources in disguise. Romy gave her a look. Only you would accuse someone of being HR to insult them. But Dahlia couldn't shake it. Mr. Leon, the unassuming new guy with librarian posture, was moving like a ghost and thinking like a chess player. And worst of all, he hadn't made a single mistake. Yet, Dahlia had never been paranoid. She was too smart for that. But by Thursday morning, she was clutching her mop handle like it was a holy staff and staring at the staff calendar like it had personally betrayed her. Mr. Leon, who she now privately referred to as the Silver Fox of Doom, was winning hearts, fixing logistics, and doing it all without sweating through his suit jacket. It was unnatural. So she decided to go full test mode. Call it the Dahlia Gauntlet. Test 1, Guess from Hell. Mr. Spanner in room 807. Loud, entitled, Addicted to Carrot Juice and Chaos. Dahlia had been dealing with him for years, and nobody could survive 5 minutes in his suite without crying or joining a cult. She waited around the corner as Leon knocked politely and entered. She braced for screams. But what she heard instead was laughter, the clink of a juice glass. He walked out 12 minutes later holding a thank you card and an unopened bottle of carrot juice. He's going vegan for 2 weeks, Leon said calmly. Says it's for spiritual clarity. I told him hotel bacon is a gateway drug. Dahlia's mouth opened, then shut, then opened again like a loading error. Test 2, the honeymoon disaster. The AC in the premium honeymoon suite had failed. In July, with a sweaty influencer couple and 3 chihuahua-sized emotional support dogs. Dahlia had prepped a portable unit and backup fans in case Leon needed backup. But by the time she reached the suite, the room was cool. A standing ovation of fans buzzed gently, doggies were asleep in satin pillows, and the influencer bride was tagging Hero Manager on Instagram. Leon was adjusting a vent, smiling like a kindly camp counselor. Turns out the filter was just backwards. Happens more than you'd think. Not to me, Dahlia whispered. Test 3, VVIP surprise arrival. An A-lister with no booking had just landed. Front desk panicked. Dahlia grinned. This was her turf. She power-walked to the desk, only to find the celebrity already sipping champagne in the penthouse suite. Leon had rearranged 2 bookings, comped a bottle, and somehow convinced the PR team it was all part of the plan. Did you just reverse engineer a 5-star miracle? She asked him later in the service hall. Leon gave a sheepish shrug, just trying to keep up with the legend. She narrowed her eyes. You're not trying to keep up, you're pacing me. Leon looked at her, really looked. Maybe I'm just finally in a place where someone's worth pacing. She stared back, unsure if she was being complimented or challenged. Probably both. For the first time in a long time, Dahlia felt unsure. Not of herself, but of the turf she dominated for years. This was her kingdom, her rules, her instinct. And here came some silver-haired shadow saint just being better. She mopped furiously down the hall, pushing the bucket with her foot like a soldier on a petty crusade. Oh, he's winning all right, she muttered, but this ain't over. By Friday, Dahlia had shifted from playful sabotage to full psychological warfare, at least in her own mind. This wasn't about pride anymore. It was a matter of balance. The hotel couldn't survive 2 geniuses. There were barely enough mops for one. She was on her 2nd coffee and 5th suspicion when she saw it. Mr. Leon was in the staff library. No one went into the staff library. Not unless they were hiding from a fire drill or emotionally recovering from a guest who insisted their tap water tasted like trauma. Dahlia crept into the doorway, silent as a lint ghost. Leon sat hunched over a thick binder labeled Quinn Protocols. She gasped. He didn't even flinch. Oh, hi Dahlia, didn't hear you stalking. You're reading my playbook. He turned the binder to her, revealing notes. Handwritten notes about conflict resolution, guest psychology, laundry hacks, how to unclog a luxury bidet using a shoelace and divine patience. I compiled it from staff stories, rumors, even a few Romy complaints, he said with a wink. You've built a pretty impressive mythos. She crossed her arms. You built a fanfic of me. He laughed. A manual, you're a system, Dahlia. A beautiful, weird system. Flattery won't keep you safe from my final test. He looked up. There's a final test. There always is, she smirked. It's called the unexpected. You can plan for chaos, you can document genius, but when the ground moves, what's your instinct? Leon leaned back, hands folded like a retired chess master. So hit me with it. Earthquake, food poisoning, a bridal meltdown during karaoke night. No, Dahlia said, voice lowering. You're getting something worse, a high-level problem. The kind no manual covers, a business challenge. His smile faltered. Gotcha. Management left a last-minute corporate deal to finalize. Today, with a rich, picky investor, she continued, dropping a thick folder in front of him. Room 1802, he wants a new wellness suite design proposal in 2 hours. Budget breakdown, spa experience plan, ROI estimate, and a scent menu. Scent menu. Guests like to smell rich things, she deadpanned. Fix it, impress him, save the deal, or don't. She turned on her heel, tossed her mop dramatically like it was a mic, and walked out. For once, Dahlia wasn't mocking. This was a real challenge, one she wouldn't touch with a 10-foot plunger. 2 hours passed. And silence followed. She checked the staff radio. Nothing. She peeked into room 1802. Leon was presenting calmly slide deck on a portable screen, using a bottle of linen spray as a pointer. The investor, stone-faced, suspicious, smelling of generational wealth, was actually nodding. After the meeting, Dahlia waited in the hallway, leaning on her mop like a conspirator. Leon stepped out, adjusting his tie. Well, he signed. She blinked. You're joking. Leon looked at her, for real this time, no smirk, no soft punchline. Wasn't easy, but you said to trust my instinct, so I did. Dahlia stared at him, mop slowly lowering. This wasn't a game. He wasn't playing. And that's when the door across the hallway creaked open. The investor stepped out. No. Not the investor. It was Mr. Bellamy. The owner. In full disguise, now peeling off a fake mustache. Dahlia's jaw dropped. Leon turned to him and said calmly, I had a feeling it was you, sir. Bellamy grinned, and I had a feeling you'd D-pass. Dahlia stood frozen in the hallway, eyes darting between Mr. Leon, if that was still his name, and the now exposed Mr. Bellamy, the elusive, reclusive, and very much alive owner of the entire luxury hotel chain. You've got to be kidding me, she finally muttered. Surprise, Bellamy said, pulling off the last of his disguise, a latex wrinkle patch that flopped into his palm like old pudding. I like to see the machine from the inside, once in a while, test the oil, so to speak. More like sabotage the engine with a new filter, Dahlia snapped. You've been spying on us. Bellamy raised a brow. Oh, don't be dramatic, it was a simulation, a leadership immersion test, for both of you. Leon, now confirmed to be Bellamy in disguise, smiled sheepishly. Technically, I'm not Leon. That was just a name Romy picked because she thought Steve sounded too suspicious. Dahlia turned on her heel. So this whole week, I've been competing against the hotel's founding father, trying to outmaneuver a corporate ghost with a weakness for herbal tea and linen spray. Bellamy nodded, and you nearly did. Dahlia stopped. What? You caught on faster than anyone ever has, he said. You challenged me, outplayed me in everything but this final task, and even then your instinct to delegate was what saved the deal. That shows trust. Strategy, ego restraint. She blinked. I have ego restraint. Bellamy chuckled, in your own way. He stepped forward, extending a gold-embossed envelope. I want to offer you something. She didn't move. This is not a prank, he continued. It's a promotion, VP of Guest Strategy, full salary, office view, assistant. You'll design experience frameworks across all properties. Dahlia looked at the envelope like it was a trapdoor. I'd rather mop a hallway than design a brochure. Leon/Bellamy's smile twitched. It's more than brochures, you'd have real power. She snorted. Power smells like boardrooms and unpaid overtime. You'd answer only to me. I barely answer to myself. 6-figure salary. She raised an eyebrow, plus bonus. Yes. She squinted at him, Still no. Bellamy blinked. Excuse me. I'm not saying I can't do it, Dahlia said. I'm saying I don't want to. He stared at her, like someone watching a magician refuse to pick up a deck of cards. You'd rather mop. Yup. Even after all this. Especially after all this, she replied. You've got an empire to run. I've got a lobby that smells like wet ambition and forgotten cologne. Someone's gotta keep it real. Bellamy laughed, a deep, genuine laugh. Well then, he said, how about we compromise? He pulled out a second envelope. Executive salary, housekeeper title, no meetings, no paperwork, occasional input on weird problems. Dahlia's eyes lit up. Do I still get my free muffins from the kitchen? Daily, with your name on them. Make it 2 muffins, she said. Done. They shook hands. Behind them, Romy appeared, blinking at the scene like she'd walked in on a cult ritual. What is happening? Bellamy turned. Romy, meet the only woman who ever said no to me and still got promoted. Dahlia winked. Be easy on the next new guy, Romy. He's gonna need a map. It was business as usual the next morning, or, at least, as usual as it could be for someone who had been promoted without so much as filling out a single form. Dahlia Quinn was now the world's most overqualified housekeeper, with a title more absurd than a sushi restaurant in the desert. But she wasn't complaining. She didn't need to sit at some glittering boardroom table with people who used terms like synergy and pivot. No, she'd learned that her power didn't lie in fancy titles or PowerPoint presentations. It lay in the quiet corners of the hotel, in the spaces that everyone overlooked, the hallways, the supply rooms, and of course, the ones with the mop bucket and the air freshener. Her new office was the cleaning closet, but it was hers, and she had a gold-plated nameplate for it. The perks, though, top tier. After the meeting with Bellamy, Dahlia had barely made it back to the staff locker room before she was handed a new set of keys and a personalized muffin basket. Not 1, but 2 muffins every morning, like clockwork. She held them up, inspecting them like rare artifacts. You like it? Romy asked, looking at her from the doorway, arms crossed. Dahlia bit into the first muffin. It's a life-changing muffin, you wouldn't understand. I don't even know why you took the offer. You never wanted to be in management. I really don't. But I'd rather have my kingdom and 2 muffins than be suffocated by a desk and a never-ending email thread about outcomes. Still, Romy said, her voice a little quieter, it's a little weird, isn't it? That you turned down all this power, the perks, the status. Dahlia paused. She wasn't quite ready to admit it, but the thought had crossed her mind. All those business dinners and clients and executive club cards that came with a vice presidency. Nah. She took another bite of her muffin and smiled. Power's overrated. Real power, in making sure the AC works on the 12th floor and that nobody's watching their $300,000 wedding video on a grainy hotel TV. I've got enough of it to last me a lifetime. And you're cool with that? Romy asked, sounding genuinely curious. I am, Dahlia said. Besides, let's be honest, I make more than half the people at corporate without even having to wear pants that have a waistband. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the hotel, Leon, or rather, Bellamy, now back in his Mr. Leon persona, having fulfilled his undercover test mission, was in his office, staring at the hotel's financial projections. He was sipping tea, one eyebrow raised as he reread the same line over and over. Dahlia Quinn, he murmured to himself, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. He had always believed the hotel needed something real to thrive, something alive. And while everyone else had their fancy degrees and polished resumes, Dahlia had what they all lacked. Instinct, the kind that no amount of spreadsheets could predict. Maybe she didn't need to be a manager, or even his equal. Maybe she just needed to stay exactly where she was. Bellamy's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, sighed, and hit ignore. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. Romy entered, clipboard in hand, looking serious. Everything okay? She asked, eyeing him carefully. Perfect, just perfect, he said, glancing at the hotel's grand atrium outside the window. You know, I think I'll keep Dahlia exactly where she is. The hotel's better for it. You're sure? She turned down the VP role. It's a huge promotion. Bellamy's eyes twinkled. Some people are just meant to do things their way. I respect that. Besides, let her keep the kingdom she's built in the hallways. If we've learned anything from this little test, it's that you can't always mold a great leader to your idea of success. Romy blinked. So, you're not going to try to convince her? Bellamy laughed. Nah, I've tried my hand at playing chess, but I think Dahlia's more of a poker player. He stood and walked to the window. Let her keep her mop, she's the real treasure around here. The midday sun poured through the lobby windows like an accusing spotlight. At the front desk, the stunned concierge stared at a frozen computer screen. Every booking, every check-in, every minibar charge vanished in one dreadful error. A tech meltdown. Corporate was in full meltdown mode. Olivia, the PR manager, hovered by the desk, frantically dialing the IT hotline. Romy clenched her clipboard and bit her lip. Even the usually unflappable head concierge looked ready to weep. And there, in the eye of the chaos, stood Dahlia Quinn, mop bucket parked, sleeves rolled up, earbuds in, humming along to her "I've fixed worse than this" playlist. A line of disgruntled guests snaked into the lobby. One man brandished his confirmation email on his phone. It glowed emptily. Service unavailable. A family with screaming children trained accusatory glares on the front desk. The mood was bleaching pale panic. Dahlia sighed, tucked her earbuds behind her ear, and stepped forward. All right, she called, voice calm but carrying. Let's play old school. She grabbed a handful of blank notepads from the concierge desk, Romy's emergency stash, and handed them to her housekeeping team. To one she said, "You, master of keycards, your inventory." To another, "You, seating liaison, find seats for the restless." And to a third, "You, muffin distribution." She held up a paper sleeve of breakfast muffins like a blessing. In 5 minutes, Dahlia had created a pop-up, manual check-in station by the bell cart. Housekeepers logged room numbers with pen and pad. Bellhops courted frustrated guests with complimentary muffins. Dahlia herself took the hand of a nervous honeymooner and said, "Your suite is on us. We'll sort the app later." Romy watched in awe as the staff fell into an improvised rhythm. Every sputtering executive in a crisp suit stood by helplessly, helpless to the analog magic unfolding. By the time the IT team announced a temporary fix, the manual system had actually exceeded digital expectations. Guests were smiling, posting selfies with muffin sand maps, praising the personal touch. One influencer even live-streamed, "Who needs Wi-Fi when you've got Dahlia Quinn?" Olivia finally lowered her phone. "How did you?" Dahlia leaned on her mop with a Cheshire grin. "Panic doesn't solve anything. People do, and sometimes people just need a muffin and a smile." Romy stepped up, clipboard clutched to her chest. "You saved us again." Dahlia shrugged, just dusting off the old playbook. Then she winked at the cheering staff. Later, as the digital system whirred back to life, the executives resumed their seats at the front desk, slightly humbled, noticeably glad. Dahlia slung her mop over her shoulder and melted back into the crowd, a silent queen in a sea of suits. Her title might still be housekeeper, but in that moment, amid notepads, muffins, and handwritten keys, she was the true architect of order, and nobody, corporate or otherwise, could ever fire that. The next dawn broke soft and golden over the imperial vista, as if nothing extraordinary had happened, and yet everything had. Dahlia Quinn arrived in her crisp yet casually rumpled housekeeping uniform, humming a tune no one could name. She wheeled her mop bucket down the gleaming marble lobby, where the sunlight caught golden flecks in the floor and rumors of yesterday's chaos had already drifted away like dust. At the concierge desk, Romy stood beside Mr. Bellamy, back in his bespoke suit, the real owner once more. He offered Dahlia a private nod of respect as she passed. "Morning," Dahlia called, voice light. "Morning," Bellamy replied, eyes warm. "I trust we won't have any more unplanned tests this week." Dahlia glanced at him over her sunglasses and shrugged. "Depends how boring things get. Someone's gotta keep life interesting around here." Bellamy smiled and turned away to greet a group of VIPs. Romy watched him go, then looked at Dahlia. "You okay with everything?" she asked softly. Dahlia paused, mop handle in hand, then grinned. "I've never been better. Let them try to fire me now, they'll just find a million reasons to keep me around. Behind them, the lobby staff moved like clockwork, bellhops, housekeepers, front desk agents, all subtly following Dahlia's unspoken lead. An intern pushed a cart with 2 golden muffins on top, placing them ceremoniously in her path. Dahlia picked them up, took a triumphant bite of one, and sighed in contentment. She turned and began her rounds, inspecting a coat rack, straightening a decorative pillow, testing a remote control with exaggerated care. Every gesture was an assertion. This was her domain. High above, sunlight glinted off the crystal chandeliers. Below, the bustle of check-ins and check-outs continued as though powered by her presence. In that golden moment, Dahlia Quinn was untouchable, not because of title or salary, but because she was the heartbeat of the imperial vista. No corporate memo, no undercover boss, no fancy promotion could replace the calm, incisive force of her knowing eyes and steady hand. And somewhere in the quiet spaces of the hotel, the dim hallways, the hush of the laundry corridors, the gleam of the lobby marble, her legend grew. Because in Las Vegas, where everything changes, Dahlia Quinn remained the one constant no one dared fire.